Bring them in, back again. Not only is football season back, the cash process is back. Ben and Anthony
We're back.
We're back. I
We're
can't
back.
believe the summers went this fast, but football is officially back. The cash process is back, and we have a new sponsor. So this is like the 6th year of us doing this podcast, Anthony. We've never had a sponsor before. So shout out to OwnersBox Fantasy. If you guys have never heard of OwnersBox, play it on OwnersBox Fantasy. They're our newest partners. Relatively new to the DFS space. They were kind of in the weekly fantasy setting for a while. Relatively new to DFS. You can head to ownersbox.online, use promo code KARMA, get a $500 deposit bonus. That's one of the best offers going in DFS. Like, it's very rare that you'll get a $500 deposit bonus. You also get a free entry into their $100,000 prize pool GPP for week 1. I'm really excited. We're going to have a ton of content for OwnersBox. You, myself, like our whole community will be playing a ton on OwnersBox. I'm going to dump a lot of teams into that week 1 tournament, so I'm excited for that. But Anthony, how have you been doing? We haven't done a video since
I
last football
know.
season.
2022, Ben. I feel like I don't even know, DFS Karma's been around 7-8 years, but I feel like you and I started this like 5 years ago. I'm very excited. It always starts out like Christmas, and by the end of the podcast, you fast forward to week 16, 17, 18, and our faces look grinded out and tired because let's be real, like there's a lot of information to process. It's fun. We all love it, but there is a lot of work that goes into it. And Ben, you do more work than anybody, in this. I mean, there's, again, a handful of people in this industry that I trust their opinions on, and you are right there with the top 1 percentile because you're grinding at the end of the day. I might be looking a little physically tired because this is the first year that I have a little baby in the background somewhere. So if you do occasionally hear some screams, it's my new girl, Kyla Carson. She's now 6 months old. So that's a little different for me. So life is changing a bit, but I'm super excited for this football season, Ben. Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of what you said, we're so happy with OwnersBox. I mean, these guys, talk about grinders. I mean, we have partnered, and we have about 7 partnerships right now with the DFS landscape. OwnersBox, by far, I feel like these guys, they remind me of Prize Picks early on. Like, they are grinders. They have a great team. I've physically met them with you, Ben, twice now in person. I like what they're building. It's a PPR site. I think you guys will have some fun. I want to stress again, and I didn't want to forget this. Take advantage of the $500. I mean, promo code KARMA, $500, right? Start off your season with some extra cash and just have some fun with this website. They're putting a lot of work into it. There's going to be softer play, guys. I mean, we both know DraftKings and FanDuel, that's where the sharks hang out, especially at DraftKings. Give this site a chance. I think you're going to find a fun experience, and you have a better shot at making better returns with this website. So we'll talk about it. There's a couple guys and a couple teams I like in specific at OwnersBox once we get into this podcast. So it's early, Ben, week 1. 2 weeks before kickoff on September 11th. We don't have for you YouTube people. Shout out. Please give us a like, write a comment. If we get up to 500 likes, I will literally find one person in the comments and give out 500 of my own dollars, Ben. That's just me on a whim. I'm telling you right now. Get us 500 likes, guys. Give us a click right now. We want this podcast to grow again this season. And I'm providing an extra $500. So DFSkarma.com, Ben, and betkarma.com. You can find all of our content for the entire season. You can find all of the good stuff, the predictive analytics, our core plays, our cheat sheets. But again, the projections portal, which is behind the paywall, will always normally be up right now on the screen moving forward. But again, we're still 2 weeks out. We don't have our first run of projections just yet. Ben, I'm going to go right back to you. Where's your head at on the season? How was preseason? Any macro level thoughts you want to talk about before we get into our standard kind of breaking down the slate position by position, going over DraftKings scoring for week 1?
Yeah, so you covered it really well, and you heard it here first. $500 for free. If you're watching this video, we normally get more than 500 views on this video. So if you all like this video, someone's gonna win $500 cash. You heard it here first, but. To piggyback off that, OwnersBox does it right. Who wants to worry about defense in the year of our Lord and Savior 2022, right? I'm done with defense. They do it right. Quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, tight end, 2 flex, and a super flex. So you get to play 2 quarterbacks. I'm super excited to dive into the strategy of that. Preseason's been great. DFSkarma.com/pricey. You can get access to, obviously, our projections. Sam puts a ton of work into that. They're the projections that you and I both use each week. I think they're really good. And you can also get access to our core plays. So a lot of people signed up early for the season package. They got access to core plays for the preseason. Yesterday, the last day of preseason, we had a really big day. Almost took down every tournament on FanDuel. So a lot of people paid off their entire season of the core plays already, but you get your core plays, mine, Sam's. We have some new faces, guys like Ryan and Adam that'll be joining us, and then
let's not forget our actual king.
Yeah, we have.
This guy won like $250,000 in DFS last year, and he literally gave out his winning plays in our core plays. Again, that's why you want to sign up. You want to tail these guys,
people
including myself.
Can act like however they want on Twitter or whatever. We literally have someone on our team that gave out his plays every Sunday, and people in our own Discord bought cars and houses, and all they did we do all the work for you. You don't have to do anything else. If you're tired of grinding, paying attention to all that stuff, all you have to do, wake up Sunday morning, look who's Matt's playing, look who Ben's playing, AC, whatever, plug it in. These people bought literal cars and houses. Like, I'm not lying. Like, this is a proven fact. So I don't know what you guys are waiting for, but I'm excited to be back. So we're going to dive in per usual. We're going to talk about just a quick preview of each position, especially now because we're not in the grind of the season. Like, we still have 13 days, but I can't wait any longer. We gotta dive in here. So we'll start off at quarterback. What's your thoughts on the slate as a whole? I mean, I think kind of like I said to you when we first got on here before we started, really not a ton of good games for it being week one. I mean, there's 3 or 4 high over-unders, but the best game of the week is like that Bills-Rams game, I think, not on the main slate. So, and then Dallas-Tampa Bay, great game, not on the main slate. So not a ton of great games, honestly, to start us off.
Oh, wow. I actually thought that the Dallas game, that was my bad. To your point, I'm looking at betkarma.com. This actually is a free tool. You can just look at our live trends. You can see where the money's rolling right now. Again, 13 days. Now the money's starting to flow in. You can see what's being – I'm checking actually every morning. I just kind of like to see how the lines are moving and the totals. But to your point, we have 2 games where there's probably going to be a lot of fantasy upside, and that's the Chargers and the Raiders and the Chiefs and the Cardinals. So I think that's where a lot of the actual – players are going to come from throughout all of our positions in general. You know that that's generally what our DFS kind of ecosystem likes to initially target. But like I told Ben before we even got on the podcast, something even myself I'd like to do more of this year is, I mean, again, that's a good indicator of where things are coming from, but don't always just 100% focus on that, because that's not always the outcome, right? Especially in the GPPs. Like, I want to sprinkle in our 3 max entry type stuff. I had a good year last year. The year before, I had an unbelievable 3 max entry season. So now all I'm doing is pivoting off my cash process, like main build. So for 2 other lineups, I kind of have a couple hedges that are a little bit different than my cash process. That's a good way to kind of go about it. That being said, Ben, I mean, I think, let's be real. Kyler Murray at 7,200, I feel like kind of sticks out if we have money. It's early right now. I'm just assuming that there's going to be salary savings somewhere on this slate, whether it's at running back or wide receiver. So I think Kyler even Mahomes makes a lot of sense. I mean, Herbert's there too at 7,600. But to me, those are the 3 quarterbacks that I'm kind of targeting right now. I think, later in the season, of course, I think we start looking for cheaper options at quarterback, if the slates get tighter. But I could be wrong. I mean, you already mentioned potentially Mike Davis being a cheaper option. I don't know if that's more an OwnersBox thing or DraftKings as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that Chiefs Cardinals game, that's going to be obviously a big target, huge over under. I think it's 7,200. I do think is a fine price, and like you said, week one the salaries come out so early. Like, we'll be able to find value and be able to probably spend up for a quarterback. So I do think that's fine. That's a great game. Jalen Hurts, we have to talk about 6,800 on DraftKings. On OwnersBox, he's 71, so he's like the 3rd or 4th highest priced guy there. I do think the Eagles are going to throw a little bit more this year. I think he has a legit shot to win MVP if they're good. Like, he's going to run, that. They traded for A.J. Brown. They're going to throw a little bit more, I think. 2nd year in the offense. Last year, we didn't even know if he was going to start going into the year. This year, he's had the whole offseason. So I think he's obviously a high upside play, but I definitely think, cash game-wise, people will be looking at Chiefs, Cardinals, and then Jalen Hurts. I think that's probably going to be, the highest-owned guys. Herbert's right there, too, at home. in a good game. But I don't know. I already know that Chiefs-Cardinals game is going to be just massive chalk.
So I'll add a couple 2 cents again. This is something I'm proud of myself. The last couple of years I've done more of, and Ben as well. Yes, this is the cash process. Yes, we're talking about building a core kind of cash lineup. But before we pivot at every position, let's just quickly sprinkle our thoughts. Again, quick look. I mean, I have really, other than a bunch of underdog drafts and kind of keeping up with the news, Ben, I am not in the trenches as much as you. I could just see that Packers-Vikings game winning a 3-max century GPP. Like somehow Rodgers going crazy, or honestly the Vikings as well, based on where ownership's going. I already see that game in specific is being a very intriguing game stack in 3-max entry. That's something I'm eyeing up. And you kind of mentioned the Eagles-Lions game as well. I don't know if you're looking at anything else early on, obviously, in a 3-max entry, kind of pivoting off of cash.
Yeah, I was going to ask some guys you like other than the obvious plays, because we don't want to get on here and just say, hey, play the Chiefs and Cardinals, like, obviously. I think Kirk Cousins is a great play at home. I think, obviously, that's a new offense for him, right? Finally free of Mike Zimmer. Seems like they want to throw the ball a lot more. So I think Kirk Cousins is probably a really strong play. No issues with Rodgers, but I would take Cousins if I'm taking someone in that game for sure. Outside of him, is there any really cheaper guys? Because on OwnersBox, we're going to be able to play 2 guys. So I don't necessarily know. I haven't really made any lineups. I don't know if I'll be able to put a Kyler and Mahomes in there together, right? So we might need a cheaper quarterback. A couple guys I'd be interested in, maybe Tua. At home, not a great matchup against a New England Patriots defense that's had the entire offseason to game plan for the Miami Dolphins offense. But new offense, I think they're going to throw early and then they're going to mold themselves after San Fran with Mike McDaniel, right? So they're going to throw early. They're going to run a lot late. I do think Tua's good, honestly. I think he gets a bad rep. I think he's going to have a good season. So I may be interested there. And then, I don't know, maybe a wild card. Daniel Jones is really cheap on DraftKings. He's $5K. That might be the other guy I would look at.
Yeah, Daniel Jones definitely has some of that intriguing running upside, as we know, and new offensive coordinator there. And I think we're going to see very volatile but sporadic fireworks with the Giants this year. And I think people probably generally would assume the same thing. I just hate that game environment with the Titans this week. But yeah, it's you hit the nail on the head before we go to running back here. Listen, guys, when you're playing on OwnersBox, I'm telling you, you're going to win good money this year simply on the strategy is different than DraftKings and FanDuel. Try to really get 2 quarterbacks if you can, because you're just guaranteed a floor, a safety net of call it 18 points, plus or minus, obviously, with the upside for more. Dude, Trey Lance is only 6,900 if you do got the wiggle room.
I can't believe we didn't talk about him, but that's not a great game to start right against Chicago. It's not you can play Trey Lance
too, I think.
I would rather play Trey Lance in cash than I would a tournament, though, because I just don't like that game. I don't see any sort of complementary pieces I would want to play with him. But in cash, especially if he's going to run the ball like we think he is, he could put up a decent score for a cash game lineup.
For what it's worth, the Bears kind of looked somewhat okay on the defensive side of the ball in the last preseason game in the first and second quarter when their starters were in. The Browns suck, obviously. Well, they don't. Don't let me get started on that. But it just
when we first started this podcast, this is when the Browns were going 0-16, right? And then we went through a period where they were okay, and now we're back to
we're back. we will be back though, Ben. And it. Probably this year does not look great. But next year moving forward, oh baby. We'll save that for another podcast. All right, let's go to running back. I'm gonna go right to you. Just listen, I guess we can talk about the Browns in a way right now. CMC, I know we should be playing him every week. I know. Are you doing? You know me. I have trouble when it's a scenario against the Browns. It's a bad bias, but is he in your lineup for week 1? No question. I don't know. Is he 8,500?
Yeah, FanDuel's a little bit different for me. If we're talking about that, if we're talking about DraftKings OwnerBox full point PPR. How do you not play him, right? I think you kind of have to. So I was going to ask you who you preferred between him and Taylor. Taylor, obviously, on the road, but gets the matchup against Houston. Not a good, defense. What you feel very strong about 100 yards and at least a touchdown for Jonathan Taylor against Houston Texans, right?
Yeah, I do.
And I think he could. I know Hines is going to be involved for sure, but you feel like he could catch a few more passes this year with Matt Ryan, right? Matt Ryan likes to throw to his running backs.
Yeah, I mean, again, and I do like the dome game as well. It's tough, man. I mean, CMC, I feel like is going to be the preferred option. So if you guys want to start thinking ownership, projections, which is a thing, and you have to bake that in the equations, I really do think CMC is going to be the much preferred guy this week, especially because he's $600 cheaper. And again, shout out to Sam and our projections portal, which is behind the paywall, but it's in the projections portal. You can not only see that not only projections on floor, ceiling, and value, the karma value, but you can also see updated ownership projections on all positions for all sports, really. But obviously, we're talking NFL as we get closer. So, look, Ben, I feel like my gut tells me I have to play CMC, but only because for me, and it's the Browns. If I get the extra 600, I'm just probably going to go to JT this week. But again, let's kind of start going down the tiers because listen, Austin Eckler is in an amazing game environment. He's 82. I mean, is there seriously that much of a difference between him and Derek CMC?
I don't think there's any way I would play Eckler
less touches
over
no,
CMC.
You would not.
For 300. Like if CMC was like 95, then you could maybe have a conversation. But
I guess I'm talking more the game environment. The highest total on the slate. I guess it's tied right now with the Chiefs.
It's definitely a good spot for like that game. Definitely. But I would for like a cash game, I'd take McCaffrey. I guess tournaments, it would depend what else I was doing with my lineup because I don't really want to play any Browns in this slate, so it's tough to really correlate McCaffrey in like a tournament. Like I would rather play Taylor in tournaments because at least you could get Brandon Cooks on the other side, right, for some sort of like a correlation. But I don't see any Browns that I really want to play. I think we can skip down. I think this upper 6K tier is going to get a lot of attention. DeAndre Swift obviously has the Hard Knocks effect because the Lions are on Hard Knocks, but in general, people like to play DeAndre Swift. He catches a lot of passes. Aaron Jones at 6,700. This guy balls out. I don't have the exact numbers pulled out. I think it's like over 18 or 19 points he averaged last season with Devontae Adams out, or the last few seasons. Yeah. Balls out with Adams off the field. So I think he's a good play. And then stone lock of the slate, like I might have 100%, is Saquon Barkley at 6,100.
Wow, I didn't see that coming.
I don't know why he's 6,100. I think he could lead the league in touches. I think he's going to catch a lot of passes. He's healthy.
Tell me why. Is it camp stuff you're reading or?
No, yeah, I love him this year. I think that look at okay, he's bad team for sure. Offense can't be any worse than it's been the past few years. They've finally got Jason Garrett out of there. They have someone that at least wants to at least game plan properly running the offense, and they have literally no one else on that team behind him. And look at their receivers. Kenny Galladay, okay, he's okay. And then Kadarius Toney, I like. And Wan'Dale Robinson, rookie, I like. But those guys are similar players, right? They're not like an alpha, even to an extent of like a Kenny Galladay. I think literally Saquon Barkley could lead the NFL in touches. I think he's going to smash. He's never going to be 6,100 again, especially if he has a good game week 1. He will get skyrocketed in price, and he's going to be like 8K the next week. So just lock Saquon Barkley in.
Planting the flag right there. I like that conviction. I haven't made a ton of underdog teams, but I do have a lot of Barkley. It's funny you say that. I don't know if it's just because he's kind of falling to me, and I'm like, my brain is saying, wait, why is he here? I think that's honestly how I've been drafting. Because again, I haven't been in the trenches as much as you, but I've been getting great value in underdog. I can't complain. But you're right, 6,100 seems sketchy cheap, like almost shady cheap. I gotta admit, the more you're talking about it, obviously the game environment is going to scare people. That we know. But like you and I both said to start the pod, like we shouldn't always get scared of what Vegas says. I mean, 43.5 total. I'm looking at Vegas right now. They are 5.5 point dogs. It's just the Titans are so freaking slow, man. I mean, they have like a corpse at receiver. I mean, they're just going to run the ball. But yeah, I mean, definitely can see it. I will say, and again, before we pivot here, you mentioned earlier Mike Davis. I don't even see him. What is his price? I mean, is he going to be like a cheap lock like early on right now with the slate?
Yeah, he's 4,400. So there's a potential for him to just be like, just lock him in. Don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Gus Edwards, he's out for the first 4 games. Like, that's confirmed. Dobbins, to me, it sounds like 50-50 whether he's going to play. The fact that it's 50-50, even if he does play, like, he's not going to come out there and run the ball 20-plus times, you know, even if he does play. And they have a rookie behind Davis, but Davis looked good in the preseason. and it kind of seemed like they were just getting him ready, at least for the first few games, to carry the load a little bit. So even if Dobbins is in, I think Davis at 4,400 is going to be a really good play. And that's someone like, as we get closer, like when we're doing next week and everyone starts putting their content out or whatever, like that could get bumped up. Like I won't be shocked if he projects for pretty high ownership, barring what happens with Dobbins or like those reports that come out. And then I think another guy that's cheap, real quick, two guys, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't know about cash, whatever. I haven't really thought a ton about it because we're so far out, but he is still the starting running back on a good offense in the best game of the slate, and he's 5,400. So he's not going to get goal line carries, but he's probably going to get some catches. 5,400 is cheap. And Chase Edmonds at 5,200 is a really good play, I think, even in a tough matchup. I think he's going to be the number one running back clearly on the Dolphins. They just cut Sony Michel today, so that takes someone away that was probably going to get some goal line carries. And, I mean, if they're going to run an offense like San Fran, they're going to run the ball a lot. So I think Chase Edmonds at 5,200 is too cheap.
Yeah, it was a great commentary on everybody. I was taking some notes as you were talking. One thing that stood out to me that I wanted to bring up, and you kind of addressed it, is like I just have like all these question marks on Clyde Edwards. Obviously, there's other backs in that backfield that been getting some hype.
Yeah,
I guess,
they're gonna. I thought
run.
that they were gonna cut Ronald Jones, but it sounds like they're keeping him. So they're gonna have 4 running backs. I don't know if all 4 will be active or like how that'll work, because I think Rojo's the 4th. Because they have the rookie Pacheco, and then they have Jerick McKinnon, who played well for them last year. But I mean, Clyde is still the number one. I think he sucks.
He's just going to be an amazing GPP player.
I hate playing him. So I don't know if it's a cash play, but I mean, for that game, for that game, like for sure, you probably want some shares of him, right? If you're playing 5, 6, 7 lineups.
Yeah, for sure. And then a couple guys that like we didn't cover that I had some other notes down that I like. Again, like I'll just sprinkle in the 3 max entry. Again, I put a decently high volume of play, in the several thousands, basically a week. And I've had my biggest wins in 3 max entry stuff. Like, of course, like I grind out cash because I love it and it's fun. But I feel like me grinding out cash over the years has made me a better 3 max entry player. Because listen, the weeks that like these cash type plays, because a lot of us are on similar cores, kind of fail and tank, your 2 hedge lineups that are just different can spike. And that's when you can have those like top 5 percentile payouts. We both didn't mention Alvin Kamara. I think he's just in an amazing spot in Atlanta, in the Dome. I mean, you could just see him wrecking the slate, right? I mean, again, there's a lot of other guys that you mentioned, even guys that were cheaper, and I agree with a lot that you said, but it's just funny. Like in other years, you and I are like, whoa, 7,600, like AK, like we're putting Kamara in is like a lock almost, right? So I think that's somebody to consider. And then this guy is totally leveraged GPP, and I just kind of love his price this week. For week 1, whatever, in 2 weeks here. Listen, we got a lot of hangover of like the Bengals and the Burrows and the Chase and the T. Higgins, and dude, they're going to light it up this year. They are. But what about at home in a 7-point favorite? Just Joe Mixon chilling there at 7,100. I could just see this being a Mixon 30-point game, 3% owned. Again, that's somebody I'm looking for 3 max entry, kind of like pivot, because he's in that price point with a lot of these other guys. So that's just something I'm looking at for 3 max. All right, let's go to wide receiver, Ben.
Yeah, you could pair Mixon with one of those Steelers wide receivers too, in like a smaller tournament or whatever. But yeah, wide receiver at the top, Devontae, new team, but playing with his college quarterback, high over under. Think he's fine. Like he's not going to be the slam dunk he always was with Rodgers. I don't think, unless we see it, but. He's fine. It's Devontae Adams. Justin Jefferson is going to dominate this year. Like I think he's going to be the number 1 receiver in fantasy points at the end of the season. Obviously high over under. He's 7,800. We don't need to like deep dive on, Adams, Jefferson, Chase. Like it's obvious that those guys are good plays, right? So I think you could make the case for any of them. I'll let you talk about like the guys at the top that you like. There is like a stone lock. He's going to be like 80% owned, and it's Michael Pittman Jr.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, against Houston, he's 5,500 on DraftKings. He's
55. Wow.
Yeah, it's just a dumb price. So he's gonna be super high on. Like you'll just be plugging him in. For your cash rosters, you're gonna have to get weird. Like if you play him in tournaments, you're gonna have to get weird because he's gonna be so high owned. You're gonna have to find some way to differentiate your lineup. But who do you like at the top here? I mean, there's some other guys in between them, but I just wanted to skip down because he's gonna be so high owned. Like everyone's gonna play him.
Yeah. I will say, too, actually, Pittman was circled for my OwnersBox pricing because he's 5,900 on OwnersBox. Like, he's absolutely a value there, and I guess he's going to be high owned. But again, it's funny. Like let's just see, guys. Like for those still listening, make a lineup with Pittman on both DraftKings and OwnersBox, and you're going to see a difference in ownership. There's going to be less sharps, and he is not going to be as owned on OwnersBox. Like let's just like that's our little game theory test right there, Michael Pittman. The guys up top, I like. Listen, I get it. Like I it's not like I'm wholeheartedly not paying attention to anything in the offseason, especially because, like, again, this is 2 years in a row where I'm starting to learn more. I didn't really give much thought in underdog last year, and I wanted to do a little bit better this year. I'm not Rube. Shout out to Rube, who won $250,000 last year, who we love. But
yeah, Rube,
man,
if you're watching this,
he's making,
unbelievable.
Rube's in his lab from April to September making these underdog lines.
Yeah, he doesn't even have time to play baseball DFS with me anymore.
Right.
He's big time now. He's just best ball guy now.
So I'm trying to get 25 to 30 teams in. I feel like that's respectable in that $25. And I got to admit, like, Keenan Allen just dropped. It feels like a value play on underdog. And I got to ask you, Ben, like, okay, he's 7,000 in one of the best game environments. Like, what am I missing? Like, why is Keenan Allen, like, I get it, like Williams a dog, Josh Palmer a dog. Like, I love Keenan Allen.
I think he's a great
7,000?
Yep, 7,000. I mean, that seems
very fair
he'll be owned.
For a guy up top.
He'll be owned. He's a good play.
I prefer him over Jamar Chase, dude. I mean, I call it a hot take. I get it. Jamar Chase
for
is a
cash,
beast,
I would agree with that. What about for tournaments, though?
Tournaments, Chase all day.
Yeah, okay. But for cash, I agree. Keenan Allen, I
prefer Keenan over Justin Jefferson. Jefferson at 7,800. I prefer him over Devontae, actually. The Devontae, if I had to choose, right? Mm-hmm. Devontae's at 1,100 more. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Tyreek, don't even get me started on him. I just feel like, and again, you can talk about it all year, Ben. You have better opinions.
He's been banged up, but I have a hot take. I think Waddle will outscore Tyreek Hill this year. Yeah, this is my
Tyreek's going to have his weeks like he
for
always
sure.
does.
Yeah, he definitely will. 100%.
I'm not. Tua, I'll play that.
Tua gets a bad rep as like a bad deep ball thrower. He was one of the best deep ball throwers when he was at Alabama. And he had Waddle last year, but he never had someone like Tyreek Hill. Like, I don't know why people hate Tua so much, but yeah, Tyreek will have his weeks.
Is that an okay? Then if we're talking about guys up top before we go to the next tier, are you locked in on Keenan Allen if you had to choose, right? Like I it's so early. Out of Tyreek, Justin Jefferson, Keenan, Jamar, Devontae, is it Keenan for you if you had to choose?
If I had to enter a cash game lineup right now, Keenan Allen would be in it for sure. I would have Keenan.
See, we've done this podcast so long that we know the route.
Like, you just plug those two in, and then you could. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to mess around with the other lineup.
Yeah, we'll have to see what else is there
for sure. Yeah.
Okay. What about the next tier down? There's a lot in the 6 to 5K
Pittman's
range.
gonna suck up so much of the ownership. Some people might like Lazard as well. Like, I guess the Packers WR1 now in a decent over/under game. Against the Vikings. That's one of the few good games. You have Juju at 5,200. I think Juju's gonna have a great year. That's a great game. He's 5,200. I think he's a pretty solid play at that price.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's somebody I was actually considering for cash.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't built any cash lineups yet, but I don't know. I would definitely consider Juju at that price. That's really cheap.
A.J. Brown is going to wreak havoc week 1 just to troll the Titans from afar. I feel like, man, if you don't play A.J. Brown in cash, which I'm not necessarily saying is a great or bad play, I think it's actually okay at 6,400. Dude, you got to have A.J. Brown in one of your 2 hedged 3 max entry lineups. I mean, you just, pair him with Amon St. Brown, right? I mean, that's just an amazing, easy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like St. Brown a lot. I like St. Brown a lot in tournaments, so that's a good move. And I think most people, like, if they play Hurts, it's like a cash build, and they won't stack Hurts, Like, they play him because he gets rushing yards. So, yeah, just stack Hurts with one of his receivers and get St. Brown. Or, I mean, you could do Swift too, but I like St. Brown. I would rather target their defense over the middle of the field. He showed what he could do last year. I mean, they drafted Jameson Williams, but he's not going to be able to play in this game, obviously, because he's still working his way back from injury. And Goff likes slot receivers and clearly has a rapport with them. So I think St. Brown is a really good play for tournaments. I can't play him at that price over like a Pittman for cash, but tournaments, I think he's a great play.
And the more I'm like thinking about it, I really like the Juju play, 5,200, like right there with Pittman. I mean, it sounds like we have a really balanced team with probably some pricing to spare too going so
Yeah,
far.
and
If we
if
were
you play
actually making this
Juju,
lineup.
I mean, you'll be able to get 2 expensive running backs like easy.
And by the way, before we go to kind of like the lower tier, AJ Brown is really cheap on OwnersBox. The few teams I've made, a couple of them have AJ Brown right now, so I like that a lot. Anyone in like, again, I know it's early. There's probably going to be more value. There's so many wide receivers in the NFL. People are going to get cut. Anybody else, like just even the lower tier as of right now, I guess.
I haven't done a deep dive here to the bottom. I mean, some of the rookies are really cheap. Sky Moore, like he's gonna start for the Chiefs most likely. He's 3,800 in a good game. Wan'Dale Robinson, I don't want to play 2 Giants and I'm playing Barkley, but he's gonna start for the Giants. He's like min priced. So these aren't really like cash game plays, but definitely guys that are in consideration. I don't see anyone jumping out. Maybe I'm missing like an obvious one. I'm sure I am because I'm an idiot. But I don't see like a super obvious one other than some of the rookies that I think are too cheap.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of volatility in this range. A lot of upside though. You know, somebody's winning a big GPP with one of these guys. I mean, man, I've heard just like you a lot of great things about George Pickens, which I hate because the Steelers. I feel like they always just reload.
The Browns not
they're-
drafting George Pickens is that's like the worst thing they've ever done. It doesn't make sense to me, but I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
that receiving corps is
doesn't
a quarterback
make
away
sense.
from they're a quarterback away from just like resurgence. We'll see what happens there in the next couple of years. I like Ayuk a lot this year, but 5,200 against the Bears. Again, he's got the upside. I just don't know, like you said, about the rate game environment. So, yeah, there's that, man. All right, let's go to tight end. Always an interesting topic of debate at tight end.
Yeah, so we like to save at tight end around here, right? In cash games. Now this is the one position I haven't got to yet in my research. So this is a true first look for me. Like I've at least looked at the other positions and I like kind of went through. I've not looked at tight end at all. So this is a true first look. Before I get down to like people I'm going to play in cash, because I don't know. I will say if there's 1 week to spend up at tight end, it's cash games. It's week 1 because there's always like crazy like pricing and you can get up to someone. So if you were going to spend up, it would be on Travis Kelce, I think, in that game. Obviously with Tyreek gone, best game of the week. That's probably where I would go. I do want to talk about Kyle Pitts, not necessarily because I want to play him in cash games, but Kyle Pitts is someone that I'm going to play a lot of this season. I think he's going to have a really, really good season. I don't care that their offense is going to be bad. People hate on Kyle Pitts for whatever reason. He still had a historic year last year for a rookie tight end. He only scored 1 touchdown. He's going to score more than 1 touchdown this year. It would be outside of injury, like there's just no way he scores 1 touchdown. And it's not like they're just never going to throw the ball because their offense is bad. So I think Kyle Pitts is someone I'm going to play a lot in tournaments. Like maybe that's someone you could play with Kamara in like a tournament team. You don't have to stack the game, but just some sort of correlation. But yeah, I don't know. Do you see anyone that sticks out? Talk about your boy Njoku for Sam.
Oh my God, Sam hates on my boy. And
why does he hate
like
Njoku
50 million the next 2?
Yeah,
Njoku actually had his best camp ever. He's actually looked really good in the preseason. The problem is, as you know, Ben, the Browns are just Brissett sucks. I mean, period, point blank. He's terrible. I do think Njoku's interesting on some of these weeks. Is like we go on buys. Njoku's going to be a play in DFS, and he's going to have the random upside weeks for winning tournaments. But enough of him right now. There's listen, if you got the salary, it's Kelce or it's Andrews, and I feel like there's almost nothing in between if you have the salary. I am curious your thoughts. Like, is there hatred for Zach Ertz? I mean, he's 4,400. Do people still hate him, or is he old and slow? That seems cheap. I mean, again, first look here, but
he wasn't terrible on Arizona last year. Like once he got traded, he had a solid second half. I mean, Hopkins is out for the first half of the season there, so they really just have Ertz and Marquise Brown that they traded for, and like those couple other ancillary guys. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate that. I mean, just because the game is so good, he actually probably will be decently owned because he's 4,400, and like that game is like the best game of the week.
What's up with Darren Waller? I mean, is he like not playing week 1?
Yeah, I think so. People were speculating that he was hurt because he has not practiced in forever, but I think he changed agents or something, so it kind of sounded like it was more contract stuff to me than like an injury.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to play Waller with Adams.
Why not? Oh,
I don't know.
I see.
I feel like Adams eats into Waller more so than someone like a Renfro, you know?
You just want to see how that plays out.
Yeah, well, that could be a mistake because remember last year, like I'm pretty sure we were like we don't want to play Darren Waller, and I don't remember. Maybe that was like a primetime game or something. I can't remember. Maybe it was a primetime. I don't know. Darren Waller had like 18 catches in week 1 last year. Remember, it was like something crazy. I'll never forget that. But
Yeah,
it's probably a void for me. Some lower, like cheaper guys. I mean, it's gross, but like I actually think Evan Ingram's kind of like a good play. That sounds so gross, but he's the starting tight end for a team that is actually going to use him properly, unlike Jason Garrett. Doug Peterson likes to throw to his tight ends, like what we saw in Philly with Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. And I think the Jaguars' offense will be solid this year. So I think he's interesting. If you want to get really gross, our boy, I'm pretty sure we played Brevin Jordan a couple times last year, but he's going to start at tight end for the Texans. He's 3,100. So
we did play him a couple weeks at
talk me into some of
2,500
that.
last week. You know, there's one other guy who's pretty cheap, and we have absolutely played this guy multiple times the last 2 years. I mean, at least 4 to 6 times. It's Cole Kmet, 3,700.
Yeah, 3,700
he just
for sure.
balled out in Cleveland. I mean, he looked great. It looked like he had good rapport with Fields. I feel like he's just kind of like a very safe, like, you know you're going to get 4 for 60. Will he score? I don't know. But it's actually not the worst, dude. I mean, 3,700 if you really want to pay up. But again, we'll see. We'll see if we have value.
I mean, it's a stone lock by come next Sunday. I will have the grossest tight end in my cash game lineup.
Yeah,
like whatever
usually.
schlup is like 3,300 and projects well in our projections, like I'll probably just plug that guy in there. But
so that basically does it. To wrap up, I do want to say thanks again, everybody tuning in. We have a lot of content coming at you this year. I mean, an absolute ton, especially at Bet Karma too. We've put in so much money into this website. We're so excited about the future of that website. And a lot of it is for a lot of the props and the betting, right? I mean, I'm looking at it right now. I've had the live odds, the odds comparison tools, you know, for you prize picks guys and, you know, monkey knife fight guys and just props in general. We have our own prop predictor, and in specific called the SPF predictor that you can access. Again, it's a premium product, but we do all the math, we do all the computations, and we run the simulation. So we truly show you it's very user friendly, right? You want to see what the values are.
It's a great tool.
Offering.
It's a great.
It
tool.
really is.
It's amazing,
and we're very
I was
proud.
Gonna say,
of
I've
that
actually
tool.
like you. If you subscribe, like you'll get access to that. You'll get access to my prop picks too. So I've kind of been doing more baseball stuff. We dominated NFL preseason props, and you can check all this. Like there is no non-transparency here. Everything is transparent. You can go on the website and check exactly what plays I've posted. Like the day after, it'll update. I think I'm over 4,000 profit, which isn't life-changing money, but if you actually want to make money and like bet responsibly, like you can check exactly the bets I've posted. It's over 4,000 profit since July 1st, and that's mainly baseball and then NFL preseason. But
well, and that's the thing. Like our audience, Ben, as you know, I mean, we're going to have fun making lineups, and that's what I always say. Like, make DFS and betting fun again, right? I mean, it's like we're gonna have fun. Let's make some profit. Yes, do we want to win $1 million? Of course we all do. But the reality is, it probably ain't gonna happen. But let's try and win $4, $5, $6, $7, $8,000, like you're implying, right? Like that's why we do what we do, right? We have DFSkarma.com for all your DFS catered needs. And there's content there. There's media stuff there. There's, like Ben saying, like our core plays you can access and literally tail us. The guys that are spending thousands of dollars on their own money, you can literally see what they're doing. Our projections portal, our ownership projections. Heck, look at my hat. SaberSim. We have our own optimizer tool. I almost won $1 million using this tool that you can access on our website. Last year, Seattle game, Arizona game. Literally. You remember that, Ben? With David Njoku. Thank you. I had 4 lineups in the top freaking 15 with minutes to spare, and they all kind of fell a little bit short. It was still a very profitable week. But again, Bet Karma, we have all these tools, we have apps now. So please, we look forward to you guys supporting us for both DFSkarma.com and BetKarma.com this fall season. And let's have a great year, everybody. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like the video. 500 likes, $500 from
free
AC's
money.
Pocket. Literally free money. If you want some free money, just click that like button. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.